All right, we are on to promptology. One of my favorite humans in the entire world, the Tifster, also known as Tiffany Markman. And Tiffany was voted Africa's best corporate and commercial copywriter in 2023. She's written for 573, 74, 75, 70, and it grows brands in 16 countries, trained 36,000 people so far, but not all at the same time, apparently. Although your reach is wide, it wasn't that wide. A very, very popular international speaker. Tiffany is funny, forthright, and relentlessly practical. So sit back, learn, and leave with techniques that you can use immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Markman.
Am I on? Yes, I am. People have never understood what I do for a living. I'm a copywriter. I've been a copywriter for 20 years this year, same as the PSA. And yet, people just can't get it. Right in the beginning, when I first started, for the first 5 years, people would think I was in copyright, in law, with trademarks and patents. Then the Mad Men TV show came out, and more people started to sort of get it. And now copywriting is quite mainstream, thanks partly to content marketing and AI. But 3 in every 5 people, when they find out what I do for a living, say the same thing. And that is almost as many people as make a breakfast at Tiffany's joke, which more than half of you have done, or tell me they thought I'd be taller in person, which all of you have done. 3 out of 5 people, when they find out what I do for a living, say, AI is going to take your job, Now, Brad told you yesterday that there are a whole lot of jobs on the chopping block. I didn't see mine there. I was quite relieved. But I do hear this a lot, that AI is going to take my job and all of the creatives' jobs, and Sophia the robot is going to make all of you redundant. No, it's not. I'm a copywriter. I'm going to be a copywriter for a long time, I think. And I'm going to spend the next little while telling you how you can use AI to become more copywriter-ish. Because AI is not going to take my job. My answer to that is always the same. It's, nah, Brenda. No, it's not. We're here to learn how to craft better prompts for AI platforms. Well, that's why I'm here. I don't know why you oaks are here, but that's what we're going to do. So stick with me. We're here to learn how to craft better prompts for AI platforms. We're here to learn that AI can make all of us better human writers, quicker, more thoughtful, more versatile. And all of that is useful to us because it helps us to market our speaking. So, what do you have to do in order to learn the best you can from Promptology 101, which is what I call this session? You have to lean forward, you have to listen in, and I was going to say you have to close your laptop, Steph, but he knew it was coming, so he's already closed his laptop. Where's Arthur? Is your laptop open? There is nothing I can teach Arthur about AI, so he is allowed to work through the session. The rest of you have to concentrate. Right, so which platforms am I going to talk about? Well, by and large, the rules of promptology for the different platforms are the same. So I'm going to give you quite generic promptology advice that you can apply across whichever platform you like best, whether that is ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Google Gemini, DeepSeek, Meta AI, Perplexity, DALL-E, or Canva, whichever your flavor is. And you can mix it up as well, whereas George, we spoke yesterday at lunch about how to use different platforms to do different things. But the promptology rules are more or less the same. Now, ChatGPT would have you believe that 400 million people worldwide are using it for business. That is a lot of people. Brendan's shaking his head. He doesn't believe that stat. I'll tell you what I believe. 90% of those people are not using it properly. Okay? And that's because, just like in high school, they wanted us to learn how to write a summary, but no one taught us summary skills properly. We've launched these amazing platforms into mainstream marketing, comms, and speaking, but other than the LinkedIn gurus who promise you top secret prompts that you can download, you just copy and paste them, they will move the needle, they will change the game. Who's seen one of these? Who's felt compelled at any point to sort of maybe give them your email address and download some freebies? those are not going to move the needle for you. Because it's not about cutting and pasting prompts. It's about changing the way you think about prompting. Now, of course, because I'm a speaker, I have a methodology for this. I have 3 elements to teach you, my elements, which are vastly superior to anything you can learn from a guru on LinkedIn. And I'm going to share them with you, starting with number 1, which I call the switch. It's a metaphorical switch. And it's about switching from the idea that the AI platform is some kind of epic supreme leader to the reality of garbage in, garbage out. And the corollary of that, which is value in, value out. It's really very, very simple. And in order to use AI platforms to write more like a human and not less like a human, you have to accept a couple of key things. Number 1, AI platforms don't think like humans. They don't think at all. Okay? They produce output based on predicting text patterns. Number 2, the quality of what you put in is directly proportionate to the quality of what you will get out. I mean, this is kind of 101, but that is what I asked, what I promised to present. And number 3, the tiniest little tweaks can have remarkable effects and improvements on what you get out. So let's begin with the inputs, with the what you put in part. There are, as in anything, hygiene factors. And this stuff is uber basic, but I like starting with the basics before we get to the really hard stuff. It sort of warms you up. Straightforward language. So if you are quirky and clever and funny and you like the odd dad joke, Gary, your prompting is not the place for that. Use the most simple, straightforward language you can as if you were explaining things to a child. Specify the target audience. Often I'll be in a hurry and I'll dive straight into the prompting area without telling it who I'm writing for, and I cannot tell you the radical improvements that happen when I'm specific about my desired target audience. Tell it early in the prompt. Front load your prompt with the target audience for the piece of content you are creating. Define a clear task for it. There is a world of difference between how an AI platform will create a piece of web copy, to a speech outline, to a LinkedIn post, to a, toast, to an MC speech. Tell it what the task is. And finally, this one is the magic. Apply constraints and limitations. Tell it to stick to a word count. Tell it that you are going to use this text on a DL pamphlet. Tell it that it's going to go on a billboard alongside a highway. Apply constraints and limitations to the prompt, Julian, so that it knows where to stop and where to start, so that there's a very clear structure. Do you want an example? Of course you do. Just a quick disclaimer. I know that the number 1 sin of presenting on a stage is reading your slides to the audience, and yet I'm going to read you my inputs, in other words, what I put into the platform to get the output, because it will make your experience that much better. So, hope you will excuse me, but I'm going to do that now using the cards in my pocket, and you will see the text behind me, so I will stand here, although I realize I'm not very tall. Right, so here's an example. You might start with role-based prompting, like act as a professional speechwriter. Okay. Then you specify what you want, including the output format. Provide a 3-minute speech outline in bullet points, or summarize in 1 paragraph. These are direct action-based commands. Then you might give necessary details. Speakers, this is the slide to take a photo of. I'm a keynote speaker delivering a stage talk on resilience to corporate leaders in Singapore. This is the context or the audience specifics that will give you something decent as opposed to something beige. Now, I want to do a demo with you. It's sort of live in that I'm alive, but these are prompts that I put into ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you exactly what I put in and exactly what it gave me. You ready? Okay, so I pretended that I was sending a cold email to a bureau, which for the purposes of this example, I'm going to call USBI. And I pretended that I wanted it to craft the email for me. I told it my name, and I told it what kind of speaking I did. So you can read over my head. It says, ChatGPT, please write me a cold email of 50 to 75 words that I can use to approach a speaker bureau to represent me. My name is Tiffany Markman. Let's call the bureau USBI. I'm a professional speaker who covers copy, content, confidence, and creativity. include a subject line. Okay, so that's the prompt. And I got this. Here's the subject line, Partnership Inquiry, Tiffany Markman and USBI. The first line says, I'm Tiffany Markman, a speaker with a focus on effective communication. Not bad, not amazing. I'm interested in being represented by USBI, given your reputation for fostering impactful speakers. It's a bit meh. I've attached an overview of my recent engagements and testimonials. Could we discuss potential collaboration? It's just feeling super cold. If I got this, I wouldn't feel moved. Would you feel moved? No. And then thank you for considering this partnership. I look forward to your feedback. So, I wasn't overjoyed with the output that I got from ChatGPT, and I thought it wasn't a bad prompt, but it didn't sound anything like me. And many of you know that it has to sound like me. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you will know that every single post sounds exactly like this person talking. So I went back to ChatGPT and I said, that's a bit impersonal. I'm known for my energetic and vibrant talks. Can you add some of this flavor to the email, please? And I got this. Let's make waves together. In theme, where are you, Brendan? In theme. Let's make waves together, USBI. Okay. I'm Tiffany Markman, passionate about transforming corporate communication. I hate the word passionate with a passion. I've long admired USBI for your dynamic approach to speaker representation, and I feel a strong alignment with our goals. I would never say that. Attached, you'll find a snapshot of my speaking engagements and the positive feedback they have garnered. What kind of a word is garnered? Could we explore potential partnership that energizes and inspires your lineup? Thank you for considering this exciting opportunity. Sorry, I went too fast. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Now, I thought that was very beige, which is the biggest insult I can come up with. So I said, ChatGPT, please can you make it rhyme? And I got, rhyme for a reason, Tiffany Markman's speaking season. And it already feels like a bar mitzvah speech. I'm Tiffany Markman, words are my art. Crafting talks with zeal sets me apart. I've watched USBI lead with flair. Could my vibrant style be your perfect pair? Oi. Sorry, thank you, Yurka. Attached are highlights of talks and applause. Let's chat about breaking conventional laws. I don't know what ChatGPT thinks I do, but it's just speaking. Thanks for considering this creative plea. Let's set up a chat between you and me. But was I done? No. ChatGPT, that's not quite right. Can we try limerick? You ready? You ready? It's so bad. Okay. There once was a speaker named Tiffany, whose words sparked with great synergy. She'd twirl and she'd talk. I never twirl. I actually did twirl once at PSA 2020. She'd twirl and she'd talk. Inspire and unlock. Could USB be a new agency? It's so cheesy. So, what did I do? I used my human brain. And I mashed things up a bit. Because that is what we do with what we get from AI. We take the human brain to prompt it. We then take what it gives us. And then we take the human brain again to get something decent out of it. So, this is what I came up with. And I have to be honest, I didn't try very hard. I wanted to show you what a tiny, tiny bit of human mashup looks like. So it's still nothing I would ever send to anyone under any circumstances. But it's a little bit closer to me-ish. The subject line says, could I be a valuable addition to your lineup? There are no puns, there are no exclamation marks, and we are not making little jokes about rhyming and seasons. I'm Tiffany Markman, an international speaker focused on enhancing communication and confidence in companies. Look, there's a nice alliteration there. I've long admired USBI for your dynamic approach to speaker representation and your reputation for fostering impactful speakers. When you are doing this, always tell the truth. Don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them what you really, really mean. Attached is a snapshot of my talks and the feedback they've received. Here's my speaker showreel. That's the critical thing. Could we please schedule a quick chat to see if my experience and insights align with your client's needs, not my needs, your client's needs. ChatGPT is not so good at this. It's not so good at the understanding what humans need to hear in order to make them feel safe. That your client's needs, not about me. Somebody said something so beautiful yesterday. It was, the Bureau is there. Oh, Zanele, it was you. You said the Bureau is there to market you once you're in demand, not to create the demand. Manage the demand, not create the demand. Yes, so ChatGPT is the same. So this is the end of the demo, but I am going to explain that switch thing because there are 3 parts, and you saw them in practice. So I told you that the switch is a metaphor, but here the metaphor becomes literal. Part number 1, you use your human brain to craft the prompt, right? Because that's what human brains are good for. Number 2, you use the AI brain to come up with your first draft, which very often leads you to your second, third, fourth draft. And then number 3, you go back to your human brain again. Why? Because your human brain is needed to add some of the things that will make it work. Specificity, detail, unexpectedness, stickiness, personality, all the things that are going to make the difference, that are going to move the needle. You've got to go back to human brain again at the end. Also, you have to sanity check the AI platforms because they lie. All right, so that was number 1, the switch. Number 2, over-explaining. You have to spoon-feed the AI platform. Over-explaining is a top technique for getting the text, the images, and the support, because many of us are using AI platforms for strategy purposes, the support that you require. And why do we have to over-explain? Why do we have to spoon-feed the platform? Because very often the hygiene factors are simply not enough. As you saw in the switch example, they produce what I call beige mush, okay, which is better than what a robot would produce in the old days, like that very cute little, I always think of robots as that little cute ticker tape machine. Anybody old enough to remember that little machine that used to make the little raised stickers and you could put prices on stuff? So it's like beige, okay? So the thing about any AI platform is that it will write better than a non-writer, but it will never produce anything half as good as what a professional human can produce. Same as with design. I'm no designer, so I'm blown away by what I get from DALL-E. But it'll never be as good as anything a really good human designer could produce. It just sort of tides me over. It's beige. Now, be aware that you will not really get emotion, empathy, or nuance. You will have to add that in yourself in step 3. You will not get detail, vividness, or specificity. You can ask it to fake this, and I'll show you how to do that with the next example. You can ask it to fake specificity, detail, and nuance, but it won't. You've got to actually prompt the prompt to do that. And then finally, it will not be able to give you a storytelling lens that is based on real, flawed, vulnerable human experience. And all of these things are what make writing that works and converts uniquely human. So, enter the mega prompt, where we go from the hygiene factors to a little bit more detail. I'm going to give you an example from copywriting, because this will be the most detailed mega prompt you probably ever have to create in your lives. So first step, simulate the persona. Acting as a website copywriter, so you could say acting as a professional keynote speaker. Task, create 450 words of web copy. Context, a website homepage. Topic, the topic is solving cold chain problems. Audience, my audience is yogurt manufacturers. I made it nice and random so that you'd remember it. Style, the writing style should be simple, clear, professional, and engaging. It should include action-focused and action-oriented language that will inspire my readers to respond. The goal of my content is to build credibility and provide an email in reply, provoke an email in reply. Here are the constraints. Remember, I told you you must apply constraints. Paragraphs should be no more than 4 lines long. Include a call to action. You can take a picture right at the end because all the text will be on the screen. Format output. Add a catchy headline in bigger text. You can tell it how to format for you. And then remember I said you can brief in the nuance. You tell it at the end. To start off the copy or the speech or the anecdote, write a short hypothetical anecdote or story about a calamity in which the cold chain collapses and all the yogurt goes sour. It should be detailed, even arbitrarily specific. So you can tell it to fake nuance. You can tell it you want that anecdote in first person. You can have the ethical dilemma with yourself about, should I say that this actually happened when it didn't really happen to me, but it happened to somebody, and that's on you. And now, prompting images. This is much more sexy than prompting text because it's a little bit like a lucky packet. never actually know what it's going to give you. Sometimes it gives you really, really good stuff. Nikki's nodding. Nikki's been there. But the reason that prompting images is such a cool thing to use to show you over-explaining is because AI lacks the ability to infer context, to make assumptions, to fill in gaps. Human artists can do that very well. They can infer context from what you said. They can make assumptions and they can fill in gaps based on their experience. AI battles to do this. So, remember that AI is missing cultural shorthand. Remember that it lacks the ability to work around visual convention, whatever the style of the moment might be. It's going to use whatever its training data contains. And it's not so good at subtlety. I'll show you exactly what happens when you try and get these things out of AI platforms. So, because AI lacks context, if you ask for a man standing on a mountain, you will get a man standing on a mountain, but you have to be specific about whether you want a wide shot or a close-up, whether you want a sort of modern-looking hiker guy in shorts or an ancient explorer, whether you want a pop art style or something more photorealistic. You're going to have to give it this kind of information. Because precision is key to style and composition, if you ask for a knight in a castle, you may get a knight in a castle. So if you want a human knight in full armor, standing in a castle with moody, dramatic lighting and, looking intimidating and carrying a lance, you got to say so. And then because ambiguity leads to unpredictable results, if you want a cat in a hat, you can ask for a cat in a hat, but it's not going to know what color hat or what breed of cat. So, tell it that you want a fluffy white Persian cat, sitting on a Victorian armchair, in a red hat with a gold bow on it, and that is what you will get. And if, like me, you want everything in pop art style, which of course I do, tell it that that's what you want, and that is what you will get. Now, why do we over-explain so much, both in the text examples I gave you originally and the image examples I'm giving you now? Because over-explaining helps the platform, which cannot think, to see like a human. So, to go back a step, quick recap, we covered the switch, which was changing the way we think about platforms is all powerful, but also doing the human brain, AI brain, human brain thing again. And now we've covered over-explaining, which is giving very explicit detail, assuming it's kind of dumb, and telling it everything it could possibly need to know about the image in order to brief in the image, which brings us to element number 3, which I call iteration. And iteration is about nudging the platform closer towards what you want and away from beige mush. So, you might ask the platform to improve its own work, right? You might say to it, rewrite this with more emotional impact, or make this more appropriate or more engaging for a TEDx audience. So you take the output and you tell it 4,000 times to try again. It never gets cross. It never sends you another invoice, never moans at you. You can literally go to round 35 before starting to feel guilty. And if you say please each time, then, that's amazing. Because when the bots take over, then at least they'll remember that you said please. You can ask the platform to refine with follow-up. So you can say, it's good as it is. Can you add a story? Can you add an anecdote? Can you add something to this? Can you change the beginning? So refining by following up. You can ask the platform to use few-shot prompting. So few-shot prompting is where you give it a little extract. I do this a lot. And I say, based on the style and tone and vibe and personality of this piece of text, can you create that something? So few-shot prompting is you give it something to work from. You can also use what's called zero-shot prompting, where you don't give it anything. You refer to another entity. So you might say, write this as if Simon Sinek were delivering it. And you then allow the platform to infer style from the example you gave. Okay? And then finally, you could also break your prompt into steps. So you could say, first, generate the outline for me. Then, I want you to come up with a little illustration or example for each point. And then finally, I want you to give me a closing anecdote. This is also very useful for your human brain because it helps you to plot out where you're going. It creates a sort of a strategic sense of what your desired output is. But these are text prompts again, and I promised you images as well. So who wants to see some of the chaos that can happen when you... Thank you, Taryn Lee. Right, so let's talk now about image promptology. AI platforms are uber powerful, we know this already, but they do have limits. Some of the limits are very, very cool, some of them are very, very funny, and some of them are quite surprising. So when I was creating the slides for this talk, I got a bit judgy, right? And I assumed that there was no way ChatGPT, which is what I was using for this example, would be able to speak Afrikaans, because we know it's global north-centric, right? I assumed that Afrikaans was not on the table. So I said to it, please give me an image of spookasem, which is cotton candy. And it did. I mean, that looks a lot like creepy Barbie hair, but it's clear that that's candy floss. Am I right? I was blown away. So I thought, okay, this is a once-off. There's no way that it can do this again. So then I asked for pantoffels. Hey? Right, so I did not think ChatGPT could speak Afrikaans, and turns out it can. So for those of you in the room, Janita's looking quite like she knows this already. It's freaky. Okay, but I'll tell you something else that's freaky. If there are multiple possible meanings for something, like eggplant, now, don't ask me what I was doing asking for an eggplant, because I won't tell you. But that is what I got. So when there is potential for misunderstanding because it's a homophone or it has other cultural thingies, just be careful. And then if there's room for interpretation, when it could take you literally, it usually will. So I asked it to show me Van Gogh as he would look now in 2025. I wanted to see what sort of a face he would have, and it gave me this. Yeah, it will take you literally. And then remember that it has biases. It has biases built in, it has racial inequality built in, it has gender inequality built in. I asked for an experienced doctor and I got Paul Dutoit. So remember that a lot of that stuff is baked into the platform already. You will have to try very, very hard to get something that looks like you. And how do I know this? Because I do this a lot. Want to see? So here's a demo featuring me. I was very specific. I'll read you the prompt. I described the style, perspective, and mood that I wanted. I said, create a pop art style image, which is my thing, of a confident speaker on stage. She's a woman in orange trousers. She's gesturing passionately in a large auditorium with dramatic lighting. I said that I wanted a cinematic angle. I wanted warm golden stage lights and the audience in soft focus. It's a porn star version of me. So I had to iterate. To refine the small intricacies, to get the atmosphere right, to get the composition right. And also, I don't look like that. I've never looked like that. So I said, these are the exact words I used. Make the speaker approximately 44 years old. Give her long gray hair. And add TED branding. I don't know why I threw that in. I've never done a TED anything in my whole life, but I thought that would make it look cool. And then I also said she should be facing the audience more. So it gave me that, which still does not look like me. Okay, objectively. Not in my wildest dreams. Not in anyone's wildest dream. Maybe in your wildest dream. Okay. My husband's sitting at the back. Right, so I wasn't so happy. I didn't love that so much. So then I said, and I mean, sometimes you really have to just tell it. You have to be honest. I said, can you make her a bit plumper and a bit shorter? And can you make her face the audience? Also, her clothing needs to be looser and you can't show her boobs. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. But it's still not me, right? And she's facing the wrong way, back to the audience. That's so weird. So I said, please make her face the audience. No. And also, I look old there. And who is she talking to? Is she praying to the gods of speaker? I don't know what. And eventually I used the words, please show her from the back. I want to see the audience slightly beyond her, and I want them in soft focus. And then, what? Now the audience is facing the wrong direction. So now we are all looking for gods at the back of the room. But it's a fun process. And the more specific you are, And the more you treat the platform like a self-driving forklift and not like the supreme leader of some country, the more you will get from it stuff that you can actually practically use. So, where to now? Well, I've told you that you need to switch. I've told you that you need to over-explain. I've told you also that you need to iterate and only trust the platform for the heavy lifting for now. But I also have homework for you, of course, because I wouldn't be the bossy somebody that I am if not giving you homework. So here's the homework. If you have only ever used an AI platform to generate images in the past, please take the slides, which you will find in the group, in a PDF, in the delegates group, WhatsApp, you'll find it. Take the prompts and create a text post that you can use on LinkedIn tomorrow. You can talk about this convention. You can talk about whatever you like. Shelley, you are off the hook because you've been talking about this convention for 3 solid days on LinkedIn, so we know that you can do it. But if you're only ever used to creating image prompts, create a text-based prompt. And if you've only ever used DALL-E or Canva to create an image-based prompt, please create a text-based prompt using the stuff that is in my notes. I'm spoon-feeding you. It is all there. And give it a bash, because you will not be able to leverage the beautiful things that are inherent in AI if you don't start practicing. And it will be objectively cuck for a long time before you get good. That's fine. It's not that long, actually. Right, so what now? Back to what I do for a living, not the speaking, the other thing. Do you remember what that was? What if AI is going to take my job? What if that is a thing that is actually going to happen? I wrote a poem to express how I feel about this. Want to hear it? I love how I ask you rhetorical questions and you all just nod and say yes, no matter what I ask you. Right, so here's my poem, which I wrote my own self. I just want you to know that there was no ChatGPT involved in the creation of this poem. No GPTs were harmed. So, if AI really is going to take my writing job, I will talk about AI until AI talks instead. And then I'll talk about AI inside AI's head. And when, inception, AI covers AI too, then I will simply talk about AI replacing you. But for now, I'm very much in the game, a big-mouthed, funny human. AI can't claim the same. And if a robot gave this talk, you'd still show your delight. Humans are super weird like that, clapping left and right. But robots don't need your approbation. They couldn't care less. Well, I love manipulation. So, if you don't want me crying in my bed, then make some noise, raise the roof, go on, knock me dead.
Woohoo! That look at what happened. Look at what you broke them. You broke them. So whilst you were doing it, and this is what it said. It said, "Holy prompt, Batgirl." So that was not a talk. It says, this is, because my initials are GPT, so I'm allowed to. So it says that was not a talk, that was a download, it was a brain upgrade, it was a high voltage crash course in the fine and occasionally chaotic art of promptology. That's what that's. So before you go anywhere, Tiffany Markman, thank you. We have a gift for you, and we have something that was written down.
Would you have given a robot a present?
We would not have. So this is Tiffany Markman. She loves black coffee, sharp pencils with erasers on the end, and having audiences connect with her on LinkedIn. Just search Tiffany Markman, and you're pretty easy to find.
I am.
She pops up very, very quickly. Thank you, Tiffany. I do want to make one final point, though, and this is an objective point. You said use basic language, then use the word corollary. You used the word corollary. Okay.